Hi, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a pair of conductive gloves. What are conductive gloves, you ask? Basically, it's just you can turn any type of glove with the right materials into a glove that can touch a smartphone screen. And I've converted these ones that were before just plain cotton gloves. So let me show you how you can do that. So, first thing you'll need on supplies is you're going to need a pair of gloves. They don't have to be cotton, just as long as you can be able to stick a needle through them relatively easily. You're going to need a needle, preferably with a large eye, a pin or a marker, something to mark with, some scissors, and most importantly, you need some conductive thread. This is a specialty type of thread that it specifically allows the electricity from your hands to be conducted along the thread so it can touch the smartphone screen. Because if you look at my gloves, the way that this works is I have sewn a little patch of conductive thread onto the tips of my fingers where I touch my phone with. So can't just be any old plain thread, I'm afraid. All right, so let's get started. So first thing you're gonna do is we are gonna thread our needle. And the best way to thread a needle, in my opinion, is to hold a needle with your non-dominant hand, find the eye, hold the thread in your dominant hand, and then we're going to just hold just this tiny bit of thread in our fingers, just a little bit, but so it's holding out straight. And we're gonna push that through the eye of the needle. All right, so now we have our needle threaded. The next thing we're gonna do is you're gonna put on your glove. I usually start with my left hand because I'm right hand dominant. And the next thing you have to do is figure out what part of your finger are you actually using to touch your phone with. It might not be what you think it is. For instance, most people tend to use the tip of their index finger if you're using your index finger for scrolling or for text. And then if you're texting, a lot of people use not actually the tip of your thumb, but the side of your thumb. So when you're actually pulling up your keyboard and tapping, it's usually the side. So figure what out that is. I'm gonna figure out on my left hand here, even if I can't actually touch the screen yet. I can get a sense of where I want it to go. Okay, so I pretty much do the tip of my index finger here. So I'm gonna take my pin and very carefully, without stabbing myself, I'm going to mark where it is I want the thread to go. So what I've done is I've marked, this is the area I need to fill up with, that's the area. I might actually make that a smidge smaller. Try saying that 5 times fast, smidge smaller, smidge smaller. But you could also use a paint marker, anything you have to mark that, just as long as you're indicating when you get sewing where you're gonna be. So now that I've marked that, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my threaded needle and I am going to, again, very carefully not to stab myself, I'm going to find the lowermost point of the area I've marked. So for me, that's the lower part of this pin where it's entering the glove. I'm gonna go about a 1/2 inch below that, or between 1/4 and a 1/2 inch. And I'm gonna run it all the way up to the top of where my pin comes out. So I don't know if you can see that, but basically it's showing that my needle is entering about a 1/2 inch below where my pin enters, and it's coming out right where my pin exits. So we're gonna go ahead and pull that through. And we only do that for the first thread. We do that to leave a nice long tail inside to ensure that you're getting good conductivity from the thread, good connection. All right, so that's our first bit done. We've left our tail inside. Then for my next stitch, I am going to find the bottommost part where the pin is entering the glove. I'm gonna stick the needle right by that and stick it right out where the needle comes out again. The pin comes out again. It's like that, and then I'm gonna pull it through very gently. So then, as you can see, there's this nice, long, messy stitch right there. And we want them to be big, sloppy stitches because that is what's gonna best conduct our electricity with the least amount of work. If you are a more professional person than I, you could definitely make this prettier. I am not that way though. So now I have my first stitch marked. I went ahead and pulled out my pin because now I know basically where I'm at. And then I'm gonna keep doing some more big, sloppy stitches to either side of that one that I sewed. So there's 2. There's 3. There's 4. So what I'm going to do now that I've got this many stitches, I'm going to see if I can touch my phone yet. Because the thing is, I can always do more stitches. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of conductivity, but not very much. So I'm going to do a little bit more. Yeah, there's some coming through. Okay, I think that might be enough actually. So as you can see, opening up my Libby app here, through Mesa County Libraries, you can check out ebooks and e-audiobooks. And we have a wonderful app for that. Right now I've been listening to the Wings of Fire series by Twee Sutherland, and that's been really fun. And it's gonna be really nice when the weather gets chilly to be able to do that with my gloves still on. But yeah, as you can see, that's conducting pretty well, and I'm able to touch it now with my gloves, whereas before, still can't do it with my thumb, nothing's happening. All right, so to finish this off, what you're gonna do is you are going to, once again, we are gonna run this inside here. Rather than coming down at the bottom where we've been stitching before of the area, we're gonna come in from the top. And again, we are running it down further, just like we did in the beginning. We're running it down further than the point we came in. Exiting there. And that is leaving a nice long tail inside. We can't see that we did anything on the outside. But then I'm gonna snip it right by the fabric there. Careful not to cut it, so that you can't really see anything. But I've got this nice long tail inside, which is gonna help my conductivity. So that's one down, and I could go for the thumb on this one. And I could do the same thing on this one as well. Sometimes what I'll do is, if I'm working, it's gonna be tricky for me trying to sew with my left hand and my non-dominant hand. That's part of the joy of having the marker, is I could say, okay, I don't feel confident in my stitching abilities on here, but if I mark this, and then I take my glove off, and I put it on my left hand again, the one that's not dominant, then I can still sew and have those fingers filled up and everything, but that way I'm not losing my place of where I was. So then I know I still need to sew there. So that's the way that I get around that whole issue of like trying to sew with your non-dominant hand. That's just too challenging for me. But yeah, that's how you make conductive gloves, with just some conductive thread, a needle, a pin, some scissors, and some gloves. So thanks for joining us today.